Hi, this is Worth Godwin of worthgodwin.com. In this video, I'm going to answer a question that was submitted to me by one of my newsletter subscribers. And he asked me, what is LAN? What is gigabit LAN? And I'm going to explain what these computer terms are and help you understand it and understand your computer better. So, what is a LAN? Well, LAN, first off, it is short for local area network, which you don't need to memorize. Local area network, basically, a network is just simply when you have two or more computers that are hooked up to each other. They're networked together. So it's just like when people network with each other in business or however, in whatever way you want to say. When we're networking, we're connecting with each other and we're sharing information, we're talking and so forth. Essentially, that's what a computer is doing when it's networked to another computer. Now, a network actually does not just mean at your house or at an office where you've got two or more computers hooked up together. It actually includes the internet. The entire internet is a worldwide network of computers that is, it's generally made up of tons, thousands, millions of these little individual networks that are all connected to each other in a world wide web, if you will. So basically, a LAN is a local area network. So it's a network that's restricted to a home or to an office, and that's as opposed to the internet, which is a non-local network, if you will. Now, basically, on most computers that have been made for the last quite a few years now, most of them have a network port built into them. It is something, it's also sometimes called an Ethernet controller. And basically, this cable here, this is a Ethernet cable. Now, if we look at it, you'll actually notice it looks an awful lot like a phone jack, a phone connector. And in fact, it is very similar. And the technical term for this type of connector is an RJ45. A phone is an RJ11. And essentially, it looks really just like a phone cord. It's just a little wider at the end. And what that does is that goes into the back of your computer, and then it plugs into something like this. This is what's called an Ethernet hub. And it plugs into here, and then it plugs into the other end, plugs into your computer. Or it might plug into something called a router. Now, this is not a router. It looks very much like a router, but a router is essentially sort of like a hub, but with extra components inside of it. And it's something I've explained in a separate video. So basically, this is a LAN, this is a wired network connection. You also, of course, have wireless internet connections. Those are extremely common these days. Wi-Fi, in other words. And basically, wireless internet is just another kind of local area network. And you have, most of them are in fact mixed, both wired and wireless. And you may be using one, or you may be using both parts of that network, but it's all part of one network. It's all part of one LAN, a wireless LAN or a wired LAN. And so that's pretty much it. I mean, it's really just, it's not a very complicated concept. It's just when you've got more than one computer hooked together, they're networked. Even when you have a single computer connected to the internet, it's still networked. It's just into the global network that's known as the internet, as opposed to a local area network or LAN. And as far as gigabit LAN, well, that's just a measurement of the speed of the LAN. Basically speaking, let's see, this hub, yes, this one, oh, actually, this is a switch. This is very similar to a hub. It's a little more sophisticated, but it's more or less the same concept. Let's not worry about that. It's a side issue. So this is labeled here 10/100. So what that means is it goes at 10 megabits per second. So that's million bits per second. It's just a measurement of speed, and don't worry about what that means exactly. Just think of it in terms of relative speeds. So we've got 10 megabits per second or 100 megabits per second. Okay, so obviously 100 megabits per second is 10 times faster than 10 megabits per second. 10 megabits per second LAN is actually pretty old. I've had this thing kicking around for a while, and it's an older and slower network speed. Most wireless routers and wired routers that you buy these days are going to be at least a 100 megabit per second connection. Some of them, more of them, as time goes by, are faster. And a gigabit Ethernet connection or LAN connection is 10 times faster than 100 megabit per second. It's 1,000 megabits per second gigabit, approximately. I'm rounding slightly. Someone might be thinking this right now. Hey, it's not exactly, but yeah, it's close enough. We're trying to go with simple concepts here. So basically, 10 megabits per second, that's 10, 100, and then 1,000 is a gigabit. And so, how does that, now, question you might be wondering is, are you going to get a benefit out of getting a gigabit? Should you spring for the gigabit LAN connection or a gigabit Ethernet connection? Well, probably there's not really going to be a big reason for you to do so. Now, in my house, I have physically wired a gigabit Ethernet connection through network through this entire house. I did that because I record videos like this a lot, and I would like a very easy way to move my videos between my computers quickly and easily, and I don't want to have to, I'd like it to go 10 times faster than 100 megabit per second, because when we're talking about very large videos, that makes it makes a difference. However, the thing you got to realize is that the majority of internet connections at this time in the United States, at least, we're actually, unfortunately, we lag way behind internet connection speeds overseas. South Korea, for example, the average speed I think is 5 to 20 times faster than the average internet connection speed here in the United States. Last time I checked the statistics. Typically, most internet connection speeds around here are going to be around 5 megabits per second. Yes, you heard me right, 5. And remember I was saying how the old slow version, 10 megabits per second, that's slow? Yeah, 5 megabits per second, you're only getting half of that with most internet connections. So it doesn't matter what speed your LAN is particularly, because it's always, for most people's use anyway, because it's always going to be faster than your internet speed. Now, if you've got multiple computers sharing it, well, most any router you're going to get anyway is going to be just fine. It's going to be faster than 10 anyway. It's going to be 100 megabits per second, possibly faster, depending. But do you really need to spend extra to get a gigabit? Probably not. Only if you have, the only time you really get to take advantage of even the 100 megabits per second speed is if you are moving files from one computer to another, back and forth, over the LAN. That's where you get that speed increase. It's essentially, if you think of it like a speed limit in a car, the internet speed is the road speed. Your car might be able to go faster than that. You might be able to go 120 miles per hour, but if the speed limit is only 30, you're not driving that fast. Well, at least you're not driving much faster, otherwise you're going to get stopped. In this case, it's an actual physical speed limit. It's not just a law that you could theoretically get away with braking or something, but it's a literal imposed actual limit. So basically that's what a LAN is. LAN or gigabit LAN, these are just ways of connecting your computer to other computers. It could be through a Ethernet cable like this one, hooked up into a switch or a router or something like that, or it could be wirelessly using Wi-Fi. And I've explained in other lessons, I explain what Wi-Fi is and how it works. I also explain what a router is and how that works. And so I will leave it at that. And if you are not yet a subscriber to my newsletter, I strongly recommend that you go to worthgodwin.com. It's WORTHGODWIN.com and sign up for that. It is free. And so I hope that makes sense, and that helps you understand computers better. And that I hope you have a great day. Talk to you later.